Hello and welcome to another special episode of Onboard with Cruise Passenger. I'm Rose Kelly, your host.
And I'm Peter Lynch, Editor-in-Chief of cruisepassenger.com.au and Cruise and Travel Luxury Magazine. Welcome to the fifth in our series on river cruising.
One of our favourite subjects
Absolutely.
at cruisepassenger.com.au. So stay with us. You can win your own dream river cruise, and the details are coming at the end of the podcast.
Yes, one lucky winner will be able to take one of 4 wonderful European cruises, together worth $80,000.
Oh, that's going to be a good one.
I'm there.
One of those incredible journeys will be aboard a ship from the line that we are talking about today.
That's right. These cruises come from the River Cruise Collective, a campaign to explain the many benefits of travelling through Europe and Asia on inland waterways.
Now, tens of thousands already know that river cruising is one of the most relaxed holidays and the best value when compared to tours and road trips. We recently compared a cruise from Amsterdam to Budapest with a similar holiday by road. And the river cruise was an astonishing, can you have a guess? No, you already know.
Let me guess. Oh.
It was. River cruising was $13,000 cheaper than doing it by road.
That's a huge saving, considering everything is included, from every meal to shore excursions. Now, today, we're talking to a line that tens of thousands of Australians know and love, but they haven't heard of it.
Sounds a little bit cryptic, like a Christmas puzzle, Peter.
Exactly. AmaWaterways entered the Australian market this year, but it's actually been here for 2 decades.
Okay, so how does that work?
Well, one of our best-known luxury Aussie brands sailed AmaWaterways throughout that time, but we never knew it because they were rebranded with the line's logos.
Okay, that's pretty interesting. So they were rebranded when this line was on board. Is that very common?
No. But it was a long-term agreement between 2 great travel families. That is now coming to an end. So from 2025, that's just 5 months away, AmaWaterways' 28 ships will be proudly sailing under their own brand and can be booked directly from Sydney.
So for those at home, it still means the same ships, the same service, but now you can experience what all the fuss has been about under their own name.
Yes, exactly, Rose. AmaWaterways is one of the biggest river fleets in the world, and they have opened a Sydney office with an Australian staff to welcome Australians to the rivers of Europe, Asia, and South America.
And I'm very excited to say that with us in the studio today is Steve Richards, the MD of AmaWaterways, here in Sydney with us in person at last. Steve, great to see you.
You too, guys. Thanks for having me.
Awesome.
Now, Steve, we love this story. You represent the most popular brand Australians have never heard of. No, I keep saying this. But irrespective of that, there is a lot going on at AmaWaterways.
Yeah, sorry.
And I'm about to interrupt here because this is important. I think AmaWaterways have just reported triple-digit growth as well as a 30% increase in their Christmas river cruise bookings.
Santa's going to be busy.
That's extraordinary.
Yeah, look, it's been incredibly exciting. We went live in March, with our call centre in Australia, selling for 25, 26, and the uptake has been huge. The appetite for Aussies to want to travel on river cruising, the sales, the calls, everything's just going up and up every week. And it's been an incredible journey, really exciting.
So you're only just coming up for air, really, or not, because it just keeps on coming. There's so much happening.
Been very popular. And we're so
Fantastic.
excited by everyone's interest in AmaWaterways coming to this market now.
Yeah.
And it's been a great journey.
And what are the Australians liking? What's their favourite?
Yeah, it's interesting. So I just looked at the data the other day, and you wouldn't believe Paris to Normandy is actually the #1 selling destination for us, which I think is quite special given the Olympics is about to start. And the Seine River is going to feature predominantly in the opening ceremony, and we cruise on that river. But we are expecting the Danube and the Rhine to eventually take the lead. That is a hugely popular destination for Aussies. But the Mekong as well, guys. The Mekong is very popular. We've seen increase in trend there. Aussies love Southeast Asia, a nice, quick, easy flight over there. Great country to explore river cruising in.
Yeah.
Yes, that's been a big change, hasn't it? People are now looking for those one-flight routes rather than the long European routes. And I think it's a big opportunity to cruise in Asia and to look for different places to go. Really, really terrific.
I think people are just starting to wake up to the idea of river cruising in more exotic locations outside of Europe. There's been this cliched idea of it only being European waterways, and that's all changing now. And Southeast Asia is a big new destination, so it's very exciting.
It was predominantly Europe, and now obviously Asia. There's also like the Nile River in Egypt, the Chobe in Africa, and Colombia, the Magdalena River. No one's ever done river cruising on the Magdalena River in Colombia. We're going to be the first one to do this in January 2025.
Wow.
And it just shows that when you get the governments on board and they support you with the infrastructure and the operations for opening these rivers up, you can explore parts of the world that we never thought was possible with river cruising. And this is a testament to that.
And we're getting off track slightly, but I am so excited about Colombia because it makes perfect sense. These are countries that are really built, all their infrastructure, their tourism is around the river. And so it makes sense that these areas that are about to open up to river cruising and that people like us Aussies get to go and experience it in that way. It's going to change it.
And I think one of the interesting things about that, because I've river cruised in India and I've river cruised on the Nile very recently, is that you can go to these places that maybe you feel a little bit, am I going to be okay?
Yeah.
But you've got your river cruiser, you've got your crew, you're going to be looked after, you've got somewhere to go. You always know there's going to be a comfortable bed, great food, and guides to look after you. It's just a beautiful way to see somewhere more exotic and a bit more adventurous.
Yeah, that lovely little cocoon blanket of being part of a top river cruise company, which brings me to Ama. You mentioned the beds, the food, the service, the guides. What is it especially about Ama that makes it so appealing for travellers?
Yeah, so we really pride ourselves on the immersion in the shore excursions. The ships are wonderful. They're beautiful luxury floating hotels. And as Peter said, they're a great place to come back to every night and relax. But rarely you're there for the destination, to explore the destination. So what we pride ourselves on is that we include up to 6 included shore excursions per port per day.
Yep.
Whoa.
So this is an abundance of choice. Now, you can't possibly do all of those, but it's a great problem to have.
Yeah.
Now, these include walking tours of the city or the town that you're in, different pace type tours. There might be a hiking option through a vineyard or up to a castle or a monastery. There's biking tours as well. The rivers are beautifully lined with bike paths and across
some of those
bridges.
are like e-bikes for those that don't feel confident on.
We don't have e-bikes.
Oh, you don't?
We don't have e-bikes. We did trial e-bikes, but we found there were too many things going wrong with e-bikes.
So exploding, right?
People the old saying about it's like you riding a bike you never forget, is it actually true? People do forget to ride a bike.
Yeah.
So we went to traditional bikes, and we find it comes also to the activeness.
Yeah.
People want to be a lot more active and involved. But also, guys, the culinary experiences are wonderful. And we have a greater range of culinary experiences: food, truffle hunting, pretzel making, wine tasting, and they're included as well. So there's just so much choice for the guests, and that's what you're in Europe for, and these other destinations, to immerse yourself in the destination.
So amazingly, here's a really, really strange fact. Is it correct that Ama does not have freezers or microwaves on their ships?
Slightly incorrect. Because we have freezers, because we have ice cream and sorbet.
And I'm sorry to say, but people like their champagne cold.
Well, that
got to
is
have
true.
that chilled, right?
Yeah, freezers. So freezers for ice cream and sorbet.
Yeah.
But what we say is we don't freeze food and thaw it like some other cruise lines do. We purchase the food fresh daily, and we serve the cuisine daily. That's so
important. One of the things we're talking about shore excursions, everybody's aware now that you need to show respect to local communities when you're visiting. We've seen a number of places where that respect people feel isn't being shown. Really, really important that you engage with local people and that you help basically fuel their jobs and their industries. I think one of the great things about river cruising is people can see that interaction.
Yeah.
They know they're benefiting from river cruise. They're smaller ships, and the people really want to engage with local people. I think that's so important.
One of my favourite experiences ever from river cruising is when you go ashore and you get to go through the produce markets, potentially with the chef from the ship, and you learn about some of the local ingredients and produce, and you interact with the growers and the producers. And then when you take it back and you actually savour it as a meal, It has so much more value.
Exactly. And that's an incredible experience. And because the guest sizes are so small, at only 150, you can do these really immersive experiences like help, purchase the produce and then, feel it back on board the ship in your food that you're dining on. Yeah.
And I think AmaWaterways actually has some special relationships, particularly with France. I think there are some particular partnerships with
around the Bordeaux region, perhaps.
There's a special culinary society called Le Chêne de Rotisseurs.
I'm glad you
well done.
I'm so glad you said
it. French than I would. This is a 13th century culinary society, invitation only, and all of our chefs
had freezers either, right?
They don't allow freezers for the sorbet, and this is invitation only. All the chefs are inducted into this culinary society, and this is an incredible culinary experience on board where we localize the food, but also there's great Western foods as well on board. Sometimes you just feel like that cheeseburger or that pizza, and the chefs have that available as well.
It's a sin. You can't do that.
Exactly.
Le sandwich.
Yes, that sounds so much nicer.
Wow. Okay. So that's something that guests can experience. It sounds extraordinary.
And of course, as you mentioned, that on shore, they can really do their own thing and experience. I mean, in France particularly, I love the South of France cruises because, you can actually book yourself a cooking class on shore and sit with a bunch of French tourists. I still recall the French chef holding up my piece of French bread, herb French bread, like this, and saying, "Too much herbs. There is too much herbs."
I can picture it, Peter.
Yeah, I felt pretty small. But I did take it back to the ship and put some cheese on it. And I thought it tasted great.
And now it's a conversation that you can have for years to come.
It absolutely
What a great memory.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Is.
So as Peter mentioned, some of those ashore experiences, I hear there's a particularly good one around Lyon in France.
Yeah, so there's a truffle hunting which we do around there, which the guests absolutely love. So truffle's such a credible, like delicacy, and the guests can go out and really see how this is harvested and experience, bring it back to the ship.
With the dogs.
Yeah, with the dogs, and then it's in the ingredients, that evening in the food as well. It's wonderful.
See, it's such a unique experience. Particularly for guests from overseas. And it would be something they'd really treasure and take home, not to mention eating the truffles, which is, I assume you can bring them back to the ship.
Can I bring my sausage dogs? I call them truffle hunters. I think I'd love to see them in their element.
Let's move along to something even more important.
All right. Well, I was going to...
AmaWaterways River Cruises, very, very good with wine.
Yeah, we have over 70 dedicated wine cruises.
Wow.
In Europe, which is renowned for incredible wines. You think of France with the red and the whites. You think of like the Douro River in Portugal for the port wine, and then the Danube and the Rhine. You get the Rieslings and you get the beautiful white wines up there. So all the rivers in Europe are just fantastic areas for vineyards.
And does Ama sort of tailor make certain cruises around these areas or these wine experiences?
Yeah, so those 70 dedicated wine cruises have a real focus on wine tasting. We bring sommeliers on board. We bring wine experts, even like vineyard owners, where they might have a vineyard in the United States or even in Australia, and they bring their wines on board as well. And we do a bit of a pairing, from Australia,
fantastic.
A pairing between old and new. So you might do like an old style Pinot Noir with Australian version with a European version, and really taste those different flavors and understand the history. I mean, like the Romans planted a lot of these vineyards 2,000 years ago in Europe. So the wine history is incredibly rich over there.
Well, I mean, that's one history lesson I'm very happy to take.
You'd be there with bells on, Peter.
I would be there with bells on.
Now, obviously, we've mentioned a lot of food, a lot of wine. I'm probably a typical traveller these days, and I want to know what's available in terms of wellness on board, just to balance that out a little bit.
Yes, so we have a wellness host on board all the ships.
Wow,
and
a wellness
host, and we find it's funny, they sort of compete with the chef. So the chef's designed to make you a little bit, put a little bit of weight on, and then the wellness house is done to slim you down. So they go head to head with each other. But we have a gym on board, we have a spa. The wellness host takes a lot of the hiking tours or the biking options.
Great.
They do stretch classes or aerobics classes on the sun deck or in the lounge if the weather's not so good, that kind of thing. So
I love it.
it's quite unique. We're one of the only operators that does this, and we really find that guests want to enjoy, the wines and the food, but they want to stay fit and healthy as well, and they want to feel good. Exactly.
That's right.
Yeah.
You come back sort of, well-rounded.
Exactly. Yeah.
That sounds really amazing. Now, what kind of, tell us a little bit about what life's like on board an Ama ship.
Yeah, so it's an exciting, day. You obviously got your floating hotel, all your beautiful meals are served in the restaurant. There's a chef's table restaurant at the aft of the ship, and that's a 7-course degustation with paired wines. Guests get to experience that complimentary as well throughout the cruise.
Do they take turns?
Yeah, you normally have one sitting per 7 nights on that, and the menu is designed by the chef. And then every other meal you'll take in the main dining, or take some sort of tapas style in the lounge, that kind of thing.
Oh, wonderful.
And then you might cruise at night, or you might cruise during the day if there's some scenic parts of the river to see. And then of course you've got the wonderful shore excursions. You might take a bike out just for yourself and just take a little go and explore a town, or you might want to go on an actual biking tour with with the guide, hiking, walking, culinary experiences.
So absolutely never a dull moment.
No, then there's entertainment on board in the evening.
Oh, what kind of entertainment? There might be
a string quartet or local sort of folk music comes on board.
Okay.
Yeah.
Grand pianos, just very classical style entertainment in the evening.
I feel like I'm on holidays as you speak. This is great.
And then you go off to your luxury quarters again, and then the next day you explore again.
Oh, sounds absolutely divine. And I think you have one of the youngest age groups in river cruising.
Yeah, we're really excited because, 10, 20 years ago, it was predominantly a much older demographic that came river cruising, and we've seen the trend change quite dramatically. We're averaging 59 on board now, which we're really excited about. And I think that's because we're a lot more active. We have the wellness hosts, we have the hiking, the biking options. The wine cruisers tend to get a 45 to 55-year-old demographic that really enjoys, the wine appreciation. And we've seen a lot of multi-generation as well. So we're seeing, we take children as young as 4.
Wow.
But it's more designed for the teenage sort of children with the 50, 60-year-old parents and then the grandparents as well. So we see, just recently we had a family of 36 in the one family on board, and they holiday every second year. They do a global holiday together.
What a lovely
Who's paying the bill for the whole
family? I think some wealthy grandparents there that
but
have
also,
paid for that.
Obviously they understand that level of connection that comes with a holiday like that as a family. I mean, I love taking my 2 girls away on holidays with me now, but that is the sort of trip that I would book.
Yeah. And they do love the fact that they can go off and do different things during the day, but they all come together for the meals and then they share their stories.
Fabulous.
They then go into the bar afterwards and again spend time together. But it's a holiday that can be made up of all different experiences.
Yeah.
Some of them might go biking, some of them might just stay on board. Some of them might do a tour of the city, all that kind of thing.
And let's not forget, there are a number of people out there who actually make a big thing of not having kids on cruises. Personally, as somebody who cruises a lot, I think it's a very sad thing not to have multi-generational cruising. I mean, you miss actually a whole dimension of kids looking at castles, particularly in Europe, particularly kids from Australia, strangely enough, who actually see the history books come to life.
Exactly.
It's an utterly charming thing to see them look up at a castle and realize it's real.
Exactly.
People live there.
Yeah, it's the greatest education in the world to travel.
Yes.
And for young children to be able to experience that. And, if more of the youth around the world travel and experience that, the world will be a better place.
And I think you have a story about one of your passengers.
Yeah, recently there was an 8-year-old boy, and he went to an apricot farm on one of these excursions, and you were allowed to pick whatever you liked at the farm. So he picked all these apricots, and he took so many. He had them in a shirt. He couldn't carry them. I think he had even a small crate, and he brought them back to the ship. And his intention was he wanted to share them with the guests.
Oh, lovely!
But he spoke to the chef, and the chef said, "I've got an idea. Why don't I make an apricot strudel dessert? I'll put it on the menu.
Good.
It'll have your name and everything picked from you on the menu." And so the chef went away and he made this dessert, and then the guests could see this on the menu, that this little boy who you got to know as well, that had picked these apricots, and then they were coming up to the child during the evening and even the next day saying, "Oh, thank you, I chose your dessert."
Oh my goodness.
And it was great. And the kid was just absolutely tickled pink. Like, what a thrill that he actually got involved in helping prepare one of the meals on board, and did get to share all the apricots he did.
Do you know
with
what? I
his fellow
think that
passengers.
beats Disneyland.
That's
you know,
a really
this is a
lovely story.
hands-on personal experience that he would have connected with.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for me, I also think this speaks volumes about the benefits of river cruising versus ocean cruising for families. You know, it's a
Exactly.
lot more intimate. You would connect with the chef, for example.
Exactly. And the small numbers on board, again, you can do things like that where you couldn't possibly do that if there were thousands of people on board a different type of product.
Exactly.
I think that's a completely lovely story. Absolutely great. And I believe your fleet is expanding.
Yes. We're going up to 32 ships in the next few years. And the big exciting thing is we're building a second Arma Magna.
An Arma Magna. Now, for the sake of our listeners, the Arma Magna is actually the world's biggest river cruising ship.
It is, but it's only 20% more guests than a normal size ship. But physically, it is double the width of a ship. Only lives on the Danube River because they're the locks that can then fit that size. You got 4 unique restaurants on board. You got staterooms up to 66 square meters.
Wow.
You got a pickleball court. You got a large swimming pool. You got a cinema on board. So we see a lot of ocean cruise passengers that are really drawn to the Arma Magna because they're used to sort of larger amenities on board, and you really
as you
get
said,
that.
a swimming pool on board. I think there are a lot
We
of
have
people.
swimming pools on board all the ships.
Yes, but that's
a
something
larger one. Yeah.
People still don't actually realise that it's a river cruise ship that has all of these amazing amenities, a swimming pool.
And the only pickleball court in the world on the rivers.
On the rivers. I love pickleball, by the way. So that's
very popular.
Really,
It's
really interesting.
growing rapidly.
Very much so. Growing in Australia as well. There's actually a national pickleball team in Australia that I played with.
Might be an Olympic sport eventually.
I think it would be fabulous if it was. I'm a big, big fan.
I could see you being part of that team, Peter.
You have to be fast.
I do want to ask, in terms of 2025, the excitement is building. People, word is getting out. So, what would you recommend?
Yeah, look, right now it's peak booking time now for 25. We're a year out from the summer of 25, and Aussies, they just love to go to Europe. In that beautiful summertime where the days are nice and long, the weather's beautiful. Yeah. We've got some fantastic specials at the moment on selected sailings. You can save up to $3,000 per person with a complimentary upgrade and some shipboard credit as well if you wanted to have a massage or a spa treatment on board.
Yes, please.
So that's for 25. We even have 26 if people are really planning further ahead. There's up to 20% savings on 2026. So right now, I'd be locking in some wonderful opportunities for the European summer for next year.
Sounds amazing.
Brilliant.
And tell me, what season do you recommend to do Europe? Because everybody now, I read a great piece very recently saying there was no shoulder season now because actually the whole year people are thinking of cruising. So,
So with Europe now, we pretty much cruise all year round except really January. Yeah. So the shoulder seasons around spring and autumn are incredibly popular because you get lovely temperate weather, but you get a lot less crowds because you don't have the European domestic travel to compete with. But then in the middle of the summer, you've got the longest possible days. You've got some lovely weather. So that's popular. And then the Christmas markets, at the end of the year, they weren't really a thing for Aussies to go and do up until a few years ago. And now they sell like hotcakes.
They are so popular.
So you can cruise all year round.
Personally, April, May is my time.
It's a lovely time.
I've cruised in April, May, particularly the Amsterdam to Budapest route. And, maybe I'm just lucky, but it has been fabulous. No crowds. Yeah. People really pleased to see you. The start of the season where those businesses are reopening and they're in such a jolly
sense
mood.
of energy.
Absolutely right.
Buzzing.
And you get the same type of weather around September, October as well as you do then. So they're the shoulder seasons. Yes. And they're a lovely time to go. Yeah.
Fantastic. And do you get special discounts during those times?
On selected sailings, yes, definitely. You can go. I mean, you can look at any option at any time of the year, and we'll have a choice for you. It's just where the savings are on the selected options.
And you mentioned Colombia earlier. So when is the best time to cruise around Colombia, and when's the best time to book?
So around December to March is considered the dry season there, and the best time to explore. Booking any time for there. We've got 2 ships coming there, only small, 60 passengers each on those 2 ships. So it is selling really well, and you'll need to get in early to get some availability on there.
Yeah, I'll just put my hand up now. Is that all right?
So for the sake of those who don't know, what is the experience in Colombia that what will you see?
Yeah, so for some people don't know that Colombia has the second amount of bird life outside of Brazil of any country in the world. So the wildlife, the music, the coffee, the dance culture, it's incredible. There's a city called Mompox where they moved the gold from Cartagena in the 16th century down the river to Mompox so the pirates wouldn't get to it. And that city just came alive, and that's on the Magdalena River.
Fabulous.
And because of the gold movement down there to protect it from the coast, the city was born. So it's a really interesting place. And the river starts in the Andes and goes out to the Caribbean Sea. And just an incredible place to cruise.
That sounds wonderful. And you, as you said, you have smaller ships there.
Only 60 passengers.
So a little more expedition.
Very much. And you see, expedition was traditionally only for ocean cruising, and now river cruising can get into the space.
I'm picturing Peter in his white linen suit and Panama hat.
I love telling this story, but I did actually sail into northern India to find tigers. On a river cruise ship.
Brilliant.
Yep.
Brilliant.
So adventure on river cruise?
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's the best way to go.
I'm visualizing this. You've really brought it to life. So how can people find out all the details around this?
Yeah, so if you go to your local travel agent, they've got all the information on us, or you just visit AmaWaterways.com. We have a dedicated Australian landing page with Australian dollars and pricing and everything in there, and there's all the information you need there.
Terrific.
Wow.
Well, I'm sure a lot of people are going to take advantage of that, particularly with those special offers. That amount of money, $3,000 off per person.
Some fantastic offers available.
That is an amazing
Brilliant.
thing. So go across to AmaWaterways.com and take a look at some of those deals. I'm sure you'll find something you like.
And of course, you can always check out more info through the Cruise Collective. That's on our website at cruisepassenger.com.au, and sign up for our River Cruise newsletter every fortnight. But Steve, thank you so much. You've brought it to life for us today. I want to go to Colombia.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Yeah, fantastic. It really sounds like you're going to have a great time. AmaWaterways are proud supporters of the River Cruise Collective. Find out more at cruisepassenger.com.au/River Cruise.
And of course, don't forget to enter our amazing competition.
Absolutely.
As Peter mentioned earlier, you can win one of 4 amazing cruises, together worth up to $80,000.
Get your entry in now. Well, that's all we have time for today. But this special 6-part series of River Cruise podcasts will be continuing.
And we will get you inspired for your next river cruise. Head to cruisepassenger.com.au/river cruise, or wherever you listen to podcasts, and search for Onboard with Cruise Passenger.
And don't forget the next edition of Cruise and Travel Luxury Magazine, our gorgeous print magazine, on sale now at selected newsagents with 20 pages of River Cruise Collective content.
It's my favourite magazine.
You're going to love it.
You can subscribe to that at cruisepassenger.com.au/magazine.
Fabulous. See you all next time.
See you guys.
Take care.